I used to say I owned that little blue house in Portland. But if I'm honest, it owned me first. I bought it in my 20s back when my palms still sweated signing mortgage papers. It was a modest craftsman-style bungalow just off Hawthorne. Nothing fancy, but every shingle, every light switch, every creaking floorboard had a story behind it. That porch, I painted it myself in the middle of a rainy October. The kitchen took me 4 weekends to retile, and I still remember the way my knees ached afterward. I lived overseas most of the year project work in Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand, but I always knew that house would be waiting. Like a touchstone, like proof that I'd built something no one could take from me. Then, at 3:12 a.m., Singapore time, it was gone. Not physically, of course. But something cracked open and it didn't close again. The message came from my mother, Gloria. The photo loaded slowly on the hotel Wi-Fi. When it appeared, I sat completely still. There was my sister Tessa barefoot on my living room couch, grinning like a teenager even though she was 33. Her 2 kids, Ellie and Max, were building a pillow fort using my throw blankets. I recognized the ones I'd brought back from Chiang Mai. The caption read, "Surprise. Tessa moved in. We changed the locks. Family helps family." Tessa. She was 2 years younger than me, always the spontaneous one. The kind of person who left jobs mid-contract, fell in love on Thursday, and moved in with someone by Monday. Our whole lives, she'd gotten away with things I'd never even dare try. And somehow, Gloria always had an excuse ready. My mother believed in unity above all else, especially when that meant I needed to stay quiet. Be the strong one, she used to say. Tessa's sensitive. Now Tessa was in my house, without asking, without a word. I stared at the screen as another message came through. "You're barely there anyway," Mom wrote. "Don't be selfish." The kids finally have a real home. A pause. Then another. "Tessa's using your bedroom. Hope that's okay." Ellie picked yellow for the walls. "Isn't that sweet?" I didn't respond. I couldn't. Instead, I stood and crossed the room, pulling open the hotel window. The streets below were still asleep, dotted with a few late-night taxis and glowing vending machines. Across the city, cranes loomed against the skyline, unfinished towers I was managing for work. So much of my life was clean lines and concrete logic. But this was trespass disguised as love. And I knew then something had to give. I didn't sleep after that. Instead, I sat at the small desk by the hotel window, watching the first edge of morning pull itself over the Singapore skyline. The humidity had already crept in, turning the glass slick beneath my fingertips. My phone sat face down beside me. I didn't want to see more messages. I already knew what they'd say, some version of "it's not a big deal" or "Tessa needs this more than you do." That was the language in our family. Need always outranked right? I opened my laptop. The desktop background was a photo of the Portland house from 2 winters ago, snow-dusted across the porch, railing a candle glowing in the front window. I'd taken it right before boarding a plane to Kuala Lumpur. That house wasn't big. It wasn't luxurious, but it was mine. I'd bought it at 27, working 80-hour weeks as a junior civil engineer on the West Coast. I was living in a studio the size of a walk-in closet, eating rice and lentils most nights while funneling every spare dollar into savings. I didn't ask for help, not from my parents, not from anyone. When the offer on the house was accepted, I cried alone in my car. I'd built my life one piece at a time. I hadn't expected anyone to notice, but I had expected them not to take it away. A sharp knock in my mind, the email I needed to write. I opened a new message and addressed it to Aaron Lopez, my longtime realtor back in Portland. Steady, discreet, and kind, the kind of man who still used ma'am without irony. Subject line, ready to list. The body was short. Aaron, remember our conversation last spring about listing the house next year? I've changed my mind. It needs to happen now. Please prepare everything immediately. Natalie. I paused before hitting send. A part of me still wanted to hold back, to wait, maybe talk to Mom, maybe Tessa. But another part, the one that had tiled her own kitchen, sealed her own mortgage, kept her voice down through decades of being told to understand, that part clicked send without hesitation. Aaron's reply came 15 minutes later. "Are you sure? Thought you were waiting until next fall?" "Everything okay?" I typed back. "They broke in. Changed the locks. Get it listed today. Eviction paperwork too. All occupants. No exceptions. No response for a moment. Then, on it. I'll send the preliminary documents by noon your time. And Natalie, I'm sorry. No one should do this to you." I closed my laptop, stood by the window again, and exhaled slowly. Some people fight with raised voices. I'd learned to fight with signatures. By noon, the first paperwork came through. Aaron had sent over the preliminary listing documents, a digital lock change notice, and the official eviction notice names left blank for now. I would fill them in once I was sure, but deep down, I already was. The silence from my phone didn't last long. The first buzz came just after lunch. "Mom," I let it ring. Then another, "Tessa." Then Mom again, then Dad, which surprised me because he rarely called. I turned the phone face down again. It buzzed a fifth time. This one I opened. A text from Tessa. "OMG, you should see how cute Ellie's room is. We already started painting. Hope it's okay. I used your bedroom." No punctuation at the end. Just that casual tone. Like she was texting a friend after borrowing a scarf. Not a house. I didn't respond. I couldn't decide what was worse, the act itself or the complete lack of awareness around it. Later that afternoon, my work calendar buzzed, reminding me of the finance call I'd rescheduled. I opened my project deck, but the numbers blurred. The clients in Singapore wanted a progress update on an offshore wind project. They'd get it. I'd still show up. But a new message blinked in the corner of my screen. From Aaron. "Heads up. Tessa's posted about you on social media. Looks like her friend B's sharing it with some local mom groups. The GoFundMe link's already up." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I searched. There it was, a photo of Tessa teary-eyed on my front porch, Ellie and Max pressed into her arms like props. The caption read, "My sister is evicting us with nowhere to go. All because I needed help. Why is family so quick to turn cold?" The comments were already climbing. "You deserve better, shame on your sister. Typical rich corporate sibling behavior." I clicked away. Another ping, a school district email. Ellie's account. It read, "Dear Aunt Natalie, Mommy says you don't want us here, but I like it here. We have a backyard and a tree. Please don't make us leave." I closed the email gently. I didn't cry. But something settled in my chest like stone. They were pulling every lever, the emotional ones, the public ones, the ones that made me look like a monster to people who didn't know the truth. But I knew, and that was enough. I reopened the eviction form. I began typing names. The next morning, Aaron called with a proposal. "The buyers want to move fast," he said, "but they'll need a video walkthrough of the interior just to verify condition. Can you join the call when the inspector arrives?" I agreed. 9 a.m. sharp, my screen lit up. Aaron was already there, along with a soft-spoken man holding a clipboard camera in hand. The phone was being answered from inside my house. Tessa appeared, blinking into the screen in a rumpled hoodie and slippers. She looked surprised. "What is this?" she asked. "Routine inspection," the man said politely. "We've been authorized by the legal owner." I watched in silence from my desk in Boston as the camera panned past the entryway. At first, I couldn't tell what I was seeing. The walls were painted a strange, uneven pink. My polished hardwood floors were now scratched and dull. Toys were scattered everywhere, including a bright red tricycle in the hallway that clearly didn't fit through any bedroom door. The living room, my living room, was now unrecognizable. My grandmother's antique coffee table had been shoved into a corner covered in marker scribbles. The couch cushions had been rearranged into a sort of fortress. A poster hung crookedly above the mantel, hand-drawn and taped to the wall. It read, "Ellie's Kingdom. No grown-ups allowed." I swallowed hard. "We'll need to see the upstairs," the inspector said. Tessa crossed her arms. "The kids are asleep." "It won't take long," he said. They climbed the stairs and my former bedroom came into view. It had once been soft gray, peaceful. I'd painted it myself during a long weekend. Now, one wall was smeared in a half-finished rainbow. Glitter glue dripped down the corners. The bedding was gone, replaced with garish floral sheets I'd never seen before. The built-in bookshelves, gone. I leaned forward. "Where are the shelves?" I asked, my voice low but steady. Tessa flinched. She hadn't realized I was watching. "Oh," she said. "We, took them down. The kids needed space for their craft station." Craft station. "They were custom built," I said. "Carpentered, anchored into the studs." She shrugged. "They weren't that nice anyway." The camera turned toward the closet. I saw piles of boxes, oddly familiar ones. "Are those my boxes?" I asked. Tessa hesitated. "We needed space," she said. "You weren't using them. We put them in the attic." The inspector moved toward the attic door. "No," she said suddenly. "It's messy up there." "Open it," I said. The attic door creaked open, revealing a pile of my belongings, papers, framed certificates, photo albums tossed in like storage from a yard sale. A thin line of water stain marked the ceiling. "There was a leak," she mumbled. "Some things might have gotten wet." My breath caught. She had touched the only things I'd chosen to keep from my childhood, and she'd left them to rot. I turned off the call. Then I called Erin. "File the eviction notice today," I said. "Name her directly." There was a pause. "You sure?" he asked. She repainted the walls, ripped down the shelves, tossed my memories in the attic like garbage. Silence. "Understood," he said. "We'll deliver the notice by hand." I hung up. Outside, the Boston air was heavy with late spring rain. I opened a window. Let it in. Some storms I thought don't come with thunder. Some just arrive quietly and take everything with them. 3 days later, I opened my inbox to find chaos. 52 new emails. Nearly 100 notifications across accounts I hadn't touched in months. Tessa had gone live. Erin had warned me, but seeing it myself was something else entirely. She stood barefoot on my porch camera, angled to capture her and the kids perfectly in frame. Her hair was messily styled, just enough to look overwhelmed. The porch light cast soft shadows across her face. "Hey, everyone," she began, her voice cracking just slightly. "I didn't want to do this, but I'm out of options." She launched into her story, that her big sister had abandoned the family living in luxury overseas while they struggled just to stay warm, that she'd found a safe place for the kids only to be kicked out for no reason. She mentioned Ellie by name, said Max had started sleeping through the night for the first time since the move. I paused the video. Outside, the Boston skyline blurred in the morning fog. The coffee in my mug had gone cold. I hit play again. Tessa was crying now. "If anyone has leads on a safe space for me and the kids, or just wants to help, the links in my bio." "Thank you." I didn't want to make this public, but I had no choice. She looked up right into the camera and whispered I thought blood meant something. The video had over 18,000 views. The GoFundMe had raised $6,300 in 2 days. There were comments from old neighbors, college friends, strangers calling me heartless corporate cold. That afternoon, my phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then another call came through from an older number, one I hadn't seen in years. Daniel. Once upon a time, he'd been the safe choice. Clean-cut, steady. My mother adored him. She'd been quietly devastated when I'd broken it off after graduate school. Now he was calling. I picked up. "Natalie," he said, warm and a little too familiar. "Your mom asked me to check in. She's worried about how hurt Tessa is. Said things are getting out of hand." I closed my eyes. "Daniel," I said, "are you calling me because you care or because she asked?" He paused. "I guess both." I nodded to myself. "Well, let her know the decision is final. The eviction notice is served, and the house is going on the market tomorrow." Silence. "She's your sister," he said gently. "Kids are involved." "She's a trespasser," I replied. "And they're not my kids." Before he could say more, I ended the call. There was no storm, no scream, just a quiet break. That night, Tessa went live again. This time, the camera shook with rage. "She's selling it," she shouted. She's actually selling it. My babies are going to be on the street because she couldn't stand that I finally had something of hers. It wasn't about safety. It wasn't about need. It was about control. And she had just realized she was losing it. I landed in Portland on a Thursday morning in late June. The sky was overcast in the way it always was here, soft gray light stretching across rooftops like gauze. Aaron met me at the airport. He didn't ask questions, just opened the passenger door and let me sit in silence while the city passed by outside the window. As we turned onto my street, I saw it from a distance. My house, still blue, still standing, but something about it looked off. The yard was overgrown. The mailbox was duct-taped shut. Toys were scattered across the lawn like forgotten promises. Aaron parked 2 houses down. He handed me a printed copy of the eviction notice already served and signed. I tucked it into my bag without looking. "I'll wait in the car," he said. I walked the last stretch alone. The door was unlocked. Inside, the air smelled of vanilla candles and something sour beneath it. Tessa was sitting on the couch, scrolling on her phone. She didn't look up right away. When she did, her face shifted from annoyance to shock to performance in under a second. "Natalie," she said, rising. "Wow, you came back." I nodded once. "We're done here," I said. "You can't just—" I raised a hand, not in anger, just finality. "You've had your notice. The sheriff's department gave you 72 hours. This is day 73. She scoffed. "You're really doing this. You're throwing your niece and nephew out into the street." "No," I said. "I'm reclaiming my home. What you do next is your choice." Then came a voice from the hallway. Aunt Natalie Ellie. She was 6 now, big eyes, holding a plush cat by one leg. Her shirt was on backward. There was glitter in her hair. I knelt instinctively. "Hi, Ellie." She looked confused. "Are we in trouble?" "No, sweetheart," I said softly. "Not you." She blinked. "Mom said this is our house now." I didn't answer that. Instead, I opened my bag and pulled out a small notebook, the kind I used to travel with. I tore out a page and scribbled a few words. "To Ellie. This isn't your fault. You deserve stability and safety. I hope you find both." "Natalie." I folded the note and handed it to her. "Can you give this to your mom when I leave?" She nodded solemnly. Behind us, Tessa's voice cracked. "Don't you dare make me the bad guy here." I stood slowly, looked her in the eye. "I didn't make you anything I said. You chose every step of this." She stepped toward me, arms flailing slightly. "This is why no one in the family talks to you anymore. You're cold. You act like you're better than us." "I don't think I'm better," I replied. "I just stopped pretending this was okay." I turned to leave. As I opened the door, Ellie called after me. "Will you come back someday?" I paused. "I don't think so, honey." The screen door shut behind me. Aaron was still in the car. He didn't say anything as I got in. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. But as we pulled away, I looked at the house, my house for the last time. It didn't feel like a home anymore. Just a chapter. One I'd finally finished reading. The sun was just rising when Natalie Harper stepped out of the car. A chill hung in the Seattle air, and the street outside her old house was quiet, almost reverent. Aaron Cruz, her realtor, stood beside her holding a clipboard, calm as always. Parked across the street, a gray minivan. Inside, she saw Tessa's unmistakable blonde hair in the driver's seat, and beside her, Aurora with her phone up already filming. "They're here," Aaron said, not bothering to whisper. Natalie nodded. "Let's not keep them waiting." The buyer's convoy, 3 sleek SUVs, pulled up seconds later. 2 men in suits stepped out, joined by a young woman in business attire with an architectural portfolio under her arm. The lead buyer offered Natalie a firm handshake. "Ms. Harper, you ready to proceed?" "Absolutely," she said, handing him the keys. They moved together toward the porch where Tessa suddenly appeared. "You can't just tear this house down," Tessa cried, stepping between Natalie and the door. "This is our family home." Natalie's voice was quiet, but firm. "No, it was my property. Bought with my money, maintained with my work. You chose to violate that. Aurora filmed the moment like it was breaking news. The world is watching, she hissed. Good, Natalie said. Let them. Inside the house was stripped and silent. The echo of their footsteps followed them through the ruined rooms. Natalie said little as the buyers walked, taking notes, marking walls for demolition. When they reached the former master bedroom, now stained yellow and gutted of its built-ins, the woman with the portfolio simply shook her head. Beyond salvage, she murmured. Tessa followed Natalie into the room. Please, she whispered now. The kids don't understand. They think you hate them. I don't, Natalie said, facing her. But I also won't let them grow up thinking what you did was okay. Tessa's eyes filled with tears. So that's it. Natalie stepped past her back into the hall. That's justice. She turned once at the top of the stairs, catching a glimpse through the open front door. Holly was watching from the minivan window again, small hand pressed to the glass. Natalie lifted hers slowly in return. Then she walked down the stairs and into the next chapter. The demolition began 2 days later, just after dawn. Natalie watched from the warmth of Aaron Cruz's car parked at the end of the block. The rain had stopped overnight, but the sky remained heavy, painted in dull grays and faded blue. With a deep, mechanical groan, the first wall of her old house came down. Wood split, glass shattered, dust billowed into the street. Aaron looked over. You sure you want to see this? Natalie nodded. I need to. The yellow-painted bedroom wall, the one her sister Tessa had so proudly claimed, buckled under the second blow. It crumbled like paper, taking the ruined memories with it. Her phone buzzed. A text from her father. They arrested Tessa this morning. For the forgery. Your mother. Collapsed. She says she'll never forgive you. Natalie stared at the message. Then calmly, she deleted it. Another buzz. This time, an email. It was from Holly. Dear Aunt Natalie, I'm sorry we stayed in your house. I didn't want to hurt your things. Mom says I can't talk to you, but I hope one day I can. I miss when you visited and we did puzzles together. Love, Holly. Natalie smiled faintly. Her fingers hovered over the reply button, then paused. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper, a letter she'd written the night before. To Holly. One day when you're ready, this trust fund will be waiting for you. It's yours. Just yours. Love, Aunt Natalie. Beside it was a check untouched by her family's chaos, protected by Natalie's quiet planning. Aaron broke the silence. You ready to head to the airport? She looked out the window again. Where her house had stood was now rubble, but in its place something else stirred, a kind of stillness, not empty, but clean, cleared. Yes, she said, let's go. As the car pulled away, Natalie didn't look back. She didn't need to. Some endings aren't about revenge, they're about release. And in the space where something once stood, something stronger could now grow.